great pictures. Oliver and Duck are very proud to be Great Western engines. They both work hard on the Little Western branch line, taking passengers and trucks backwards and forwards all day long. Oliver is younger than Duck, but can often be jealous of him at times. Sometimes Oliver feels like he's second best to Duck. One day, Duck and Oliver were at Knapford Station with their coaches. They were getting ready to take their passengers to the seaside. Oliver was excited to go. The Fat Controller looked at his watch. Then a little boy ran over to the front of the platform to see the engines. "Look at this!" he cried. Oliver looked and saw the little boy was holding a book. "What is it?" he asked. "It's a book on steam engines," the boy explained. "It has lots of pictures of very famous engines." "That's exciting," smiled Duck. Then a photographer came to see the Fat Controller. The Fat Controller then turned to the engines. "Duck and Oliver, I have very special news for you," he said. Duck and Oliver listened carefully. "The photographer here has been taking pictures of famous engines for his new book," the Fat Controller explained. "It's called The Book of Great Western Engines," the photographer explained. The Fat Controller turned to the little boy. He asked if he could borrow his book. The boy agreed, and the Fat Controller held his book. "It's going to be like this," he smiled as he opened the book. "So I would like you two to be busy when the photos are taken." "Yes, sir, we will, sir," beamed Duck. Then Oliver had a thought. "Please, sir, what about Toad?" he asked. "He can't miss this." "I'm sorry, Oliver," said the Fat Controller, "but Toad is away being mended, so he won't be able to be in the book, I'm afraid." "Also," the photographer added, "whichever photo of you two I take is the best, it will be put on the front cover." This made Oliver so excited his axles tingled. "So remember, be really useful," the Fat Controller added. "Usefulness is very important." He gave the little boy his book back and went back to his office. "This will be exciting," grinned Oliver. "I hope I'm chosen to be on the front cover." "Nonsense," said Duck. "I know this railway more than you, and I know the rules better than you. I'll have more of a chance of getting onto the front cover than you will." This made Oliver cross. "I'm as useful as you any day," he huffed. "I may be younger, but I can't be important." "That'll be the day," sighed Duck. Then the guards blew his whistle. Oliver was pleased it was time to go. He set off out of the station and out onto the open line. Oliver steamed along the line. He was still cross with Duck. "How can Duck say he's got more of a chance?" he puffed. "I may not be as smart as Duck, but at least I'm really useful." Then Oliver approached the junction. Emily puffed onto the main line. She was pulling a train of china clay. Oliver puffed up towards Emily. He whistled to her as he puffed alongside. "Hello, Emily," whistled Oliver. "I have exciting news." Emily was excited to hear this.
"What is it?"
she asked. Oliver told Emily about the photographer taking photographs for his new book, and that he or Duck were going to be put on the front cover. Emily was impressed.
"I bet you're excited."
Emily smiled. "But Duck says he will have a better chance than me," laughed Oliver. He told Emily what Duck had said. Emily thought about this for a moment. Then she decided to be firm.
"I'm sorry, Oliver,"
she said,
"but Duck does have a point."
Oliver was surprised to hear this. "What do you mean?" he asked. "I'm useful too."
"I know you are,"
Emily went on,
"but Duck knows more about his work than you do, and you do struggle with your jobs. Duck is trustworthy, and he can do any job he's given. I'm sorry, Oliver. Now I must go."
And Emily puffed on with her train. This made Oliver feel very sad. As Oliver puffed through the countryside, he was feeling miserable. "Why is Duck more trustworthy?" he asked glumly. "Why is he a better engine than me?" Oliver's driver smiled. "Well, Duck isn't better than you," he said. "You're trustworthy too, and everyone loves you." "But Duck always gets the best jobs," sighed Oliver. "I don't feel useful at all." "Don't ever say that," comforted his driver. "You're not second best." But Oliver felt like he was. Then Oliver saw Henry in a siding. He was pulling a train of new rails and sleepers. They were needed to replace the old rails by the coach track. Oliver stopped to see what was going on.
"Hello, Henry," said Oliver. "Are you all right?" "No, I'm not," replied Henry. "My injector's failed. I can't go on and my delivery is going to be late."
Oliver was worried. If Henry didn't make his delivery, then the workmen couldn't start repairs on the coach track. Then Oliver had an idea.
"I'll take your train, Henry," suggested Oliver.
Henry was surprised at this.
"You won't be able to pull my trucks as well as your own coaches," he said. "The train will be too heavy."
"I don't care," replied Oliver. "I want to help you and I'll do anything to help my friends." Oliver's driver and fireman spoke to Henry's crew about Oliver's idea. "The train will be heavy though," said Henry's fireman. "Don't worry," smiled Oliver's fireman. "We'll get your train delivered in no time." So everyone agreed and went to work. Soon Henry's trucks were coupled up behind Oliver's coaches and he was ready to go.
"Be careful," warned Henry. "We don't want you to break down as well."
"I will," agreed Oliver. The guard blew his whistle and waved his green flag. "Right, Oliver," called the driver. "Take it steady." The driver opened the regulator carefully and Oliver puffed away slowly forward. The train moved inch by inch and then Oliver picked up speed. Henry watched as the long train disappeared around the bend.
"Good luck,"
whistled Henry. Oliver puffed up the track with his long train. His steam shot high into the air and his wheels ached, but he struggled on.
"I hope the passengers are alright with this,"
he wheezed. "The guard has told the passengers what has happened," said the driver. "They know we'll be late." The passengers didn't mind. They knew Oliver was helping another engine in need. The driver kept an eye on Oliver's controls and the fireman made sure Oliver's fire was strong.
"I can do it! I can do it!"
puffed Oliver to himself. Then he puffed towards a bridge. Oliver didn't know that the photographer was nearby talking to a farmer. Then the farmer looked and saw Oliver. "Well, fill my potatoes," he gasped. "Look at that!" The photographer turned and looked. He was amazed when he saw Oliver pulling his heavy load.
"My goodness!"
he cried.
"There's something you don't see every day."
He quickly got out his camera and got ready to take his picture. The farmer waved and cheered to Oliver. "Hello!" he shouted happily. But Oliver didn't notice them. He was too busy concentrating on his puff. The photographer waited a moment and then the camera flashed. Oliver was too busy to notice this too. His driver blew his whistle as they went under the bridge. "What a busy engine," the farmer thought to himself. At last Oliver was puffing out of the cliff tunnel. He puffed around the signal box and was pleased to see the station ahead. He pulled into the station feeling exhausted. His cheeks were bright red and his wheels ached. Duck was there too. He was cross. "You're late," he moaned. "Great Western engines are never late." Then the passengers climbed out of the train and gave Oliver a mighty cheer. Duck was puzzled. Then the Fat Controller arrived with the photographer. Oliver was worried that the Fat Controller would be cross with him for being late. But the Fat Controller was smiling. "Oliver, I hear you helped Henry out of a very awkward situation," he said. "Not only did you deliver your passengers, but you also got Henry's trucks to the station safely. Well done."
"Thank you, sir,"
answered Oliver.
"And I was impressed with how you pulled your train," said the photographer. "You showed true concentration and determination. So I have decided to put your picture on the front cover of the new book."
"You deserve it," agreed the Fat Controller. Oliver was so happy he beamed from buffer to buffer. The passengers and staff clapped and cheered for Oliver. Duck was very unhappy. He thought this was unfair. That night, Duck sulked crossly in the shed, but Oliver was feeling very pleased with himself. Even Donald and Douglas were impressed. "You were a very useful engine," smiled Donald, "and a strong one too." "How did you do it?" asked Douglas. Oliver smiled. "I just built up my determination," he explained, "and I thought how important the loads were to the station." "I should have been on the front cover," huffed Duck. "It isn't fair." No, Duck," said Oliver. "Being helpful to your friends is a very useful thing to be indeed." Donald and Douglas happily agreed, but Duck didn't want to discuss it anymore, so he went to sleep. A few days later, Duck and Oliver were brought to Knapford Station. All of the engines were there too. The Fat Controller stood next to Oliver with a new book. "Here you go, sir," smiled the photographer. He handed over the book to the Fat Controller. The Fat Controller was so impressed that he showed it to the engines. "Look who's on the front cover," he smiled. "It's Oliver!" gasped Donald. "With his long train," put in Douglas.
You look wonderful,
added Emily. Oliver didn't know what to say. He looked at his picture and gave a big smile. Duck sighed. He felt bad about losing to Oliver. "I'm sorry I was cross," he said. "Maybe you are as useful and important as me." "We're both useful and important," smiled Oliver. "We're a team." Duck knew Oliver was right. Henry was very pleased to see his train on the cover.
Thank you for helping me,"
he said happily. "That's all right," said Oliver. "I'm glad I was able to help." "You were a very helpful engine indeed," agreed the photographer. "I shall put this book in my office," said the Fat Controller. Then he turned to Oliver. "Oliver, I am very proud of you," he said. "You have certainly proved yourself to be a really useful engine." Oliver was so happy he let out a cheerful whistle, and all of the engines joined in. Oliver couldn't have felt happier, and he didn't feel like he was second best. Not one bit.